I'm kind of the greatest fisherman in the entire world. Besides Massimo, of course.
Which Luca actor recorded most of the film from their mom's closet? We see the final product, but behind the scenes, recording remotely during a pandemic looks very, very different than normal. This was actually the first time some of these actors had ever done voice work. Today, we're checking out the performers behind the voices that brought us Disney Pixar's Luca.
I know your problem. You got a Bruno in your head.
A Bruno.
Jacob Trombley is only 14 years old, but already a total pro in the film world. He's done roles in live-action movies like Room and Wonder. However, voice work is a very different experience and discipline. For Trombley, it wasn't too much of an issue anyway, since he has years of experience doing it. He's been the voice of Pete for the past few years in Pete and the Cat, and of course, he will also be voicing Flounder in the upcoming live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. His animated voice really brings this hilarious moment to life.
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Seeing Emma Berman performing behind the scenes makes it so hard to believe that she's still pretty new to the business. This is actually her first major project.
Are you in town for the race? The Portorosso Cup?
While the trio may just be meeting, it feels like they're already at the beginning of a great adventure and friendship together. Emma Berman's sweetness comes through on the screen and behind the scenes, which is extra impressive considering she's not acting opposite anyone. Jack Dylan Grazer has done plenty of movies and TV shows already.
I've been doing this forever.
But it's still early days for Grazer when it comes to voiceover performance.
It's been so much fun. It really has.
So for him, it was a big adjustment since he couldn't actually look at the people he was acting opposite. However, he really got into it and, as we can see, was definitely able to get his point across.
Luca, it's simple. Just don't listen to stupid Bruno.
This pep talk works. Fortunately, it wasn't as drastic for Trombley himself as it happened behind the scenes. But he managed to portray the panic extremely well.
He's dead! I killed him!
The worry that he'd lost his best friend comes through perfectly in his voice here. This kind of acting should be helpful when he's taking on Flounder, who goes through plenty of panic of his own. Alberto communicating the fact that he's a sea monster could definitely be tricky, but somehow newcomer Grazer does a spot-on job.
It's fine, I'm not human.
What's even more impressive about this performance is that it was done out of his mom's closet. Very, very, very far from this quaint Italian town. However, Grazer had actually just been in Italy only 2 months before he discovered he'd gotten the part, filming another project. So luckily, everything in his life felt pretty in sync and he could feel those Italian vibes.
Wait.
It's called Phantom Tail. He'll get used to it.
Watching Berman behind the scenes is so exciting because she's so animated while she's performing. We can see how it emanates what her character does on screen perfectly. Julia is an optimistic girl, but even she has her doubts about the abilities of these sea monsters, and understandably so.
You can't swim. You can barely ride a bike. Siete un disastro.
We wouldn't be a fan of disastros either. How Alberto learned to walk so well, we're not entirely sure, but he seems pretty well versed when it comes to it. Luca does have a great and enthusiastic teacher, even though his instructions might not be the most helpful sometimes.
Walking is just like swimming, but with no fins or tail, and also there's no water.
The chemistry between Alberto and Luca is really special, which is extra impressive since the actors haven't actually met in person. That's right, they developed this beautiful on-screen friendship and all without ever actually speaking face-to-face.
It was like, oh, wow.
Emma Berman makes for a very good trainer, maybe even better than Alberto. There was no hesitancy in getting them into shape. The boys are definitely being well prepared by her as she's clearly thought of everything.
Can you dodge obstacles? What if an old lady crosses your path?
We would just love to see Berman and her co-stars performing this scene live as well. Learning how to ride a bike is a pretty amazing feeling for anyone, but especially for a sea monster who, let's remember, also just learned how to walk. Trombley's enthusiasm radiates behind the scenes.
Julia said, "Look up," and then all of a sudden, I was riding it.
We can see that he and Luca are very similarly animated in their performance.
The town will cheer our names. Hercules' life will be ruined.
Once Julia has her mind set on something, there is no turning back. We can feel just how excited not only Julia is, but Berman, the actress herself.
It was definitely really, really good.
The enthusiasm about working with her new friends and feeling re-inspired really comes through in this scene. They definitely sound like winners.
That's why we gotta win.
One of the sweetest moments in the whole movie is definitely when Luca describes the dreams of his adventures with Alberto around the world.
Every day, me and Alberto are gonna ride someplace new.
It's a touching and tender moment that translates beautifully to the screen. Trombley's presence comes through behind the mic and we can hear every single sweet note.
And every night, we'll sleep under the fish.
Julia is one of the most organized and determined kids that we've ever seen.
I actually relate to her in some ways.
Considering her positivity and how well she motivates the team, it seems like their chances are pretty good.
We have 1 week to train. Pronte? A poste via!
They won the Enthusiasm Award for sure. We love seeing Berman's physicality behind the mic. She embodies the character of Julia perfectly.
Too much. My mom says sometimes I'm too much.
No way. Not for me.
Jim Gaffigan is usually a stand-up comedian, so it makes sense why his performance is so strong and his comedic timing so on point.
All right, young man. You're not fooling anyone.
His sneak attack on this unexpecting Italian child brings a hilarious moment to the movie, one that Gaffigan portrays perfectly.
It's time for us to go home.
His energy behind the mic really amps the scene up. This moment under the fish, or stars, depending on if you're a human or a sea monster, is a pretty magical moment no matter how you look at it.
That's Saturno. It's my favorite.
Berman's performance is genuine and full of sweetness. We can really understand how Luca would become so excited by the world and all of its wonders, seeing it through Julia's eyes.
This is how machines fly?
See?
And they're big towns called cities.
So cool, right?
When she's on land, Luca's mom Daniela does not hold back. Even her husband Lorenzo is a bit nervous by her boldness.
Honey,
Gaffigan's hesitant performance is very obvious behind the mic as well.
honey, no. I don't.
It's amazing that his chemistry with Maya Rudolph was so strong even though they didn't get to act with each other directly.
We look horrifying.
Ugh, gross.
Silenzio Bruno. That's just a dumb voice in your head.
Disney Pixar's Luca is a film about friendship and perseverance. Just like Luca and Alberto, the creators of this film faced numerous obstacles. From pandemic restrictions to creating never-seen-before technology, the lengths that went into the creation of this film were intense. Luckily, with the help of their epic cast, they were able to power through, but not without multiple Silenzio Brunos, of course.
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Disney and Pixar have created some animated staples like Monsters, Inc., Nemo, and Coco. Luca director Enrico Casarosa followed directly in their footsteps by inspiring the creation of new, groundbreaking technology. While Monsters, Inc. brought the ability to animate soft hair and Nemo water, Luca animators hit a breakthrough when it came to the smooth transition between human skin and fish scales.
The question from day one, technically, how do you go from fish scales to human skin?
Luca's transformations throughout the film play a major role, and the entire team knew that they needed to be perfect if they wanted this film to be what Enrico had envisioned. They used what is called a transformation rig, which allowed them to turn their characters invisible. Now, you could lay the second character in and make him invisible and leave just the feet, and you could pick how faded you wanted that to be, or where you wanted it to be or not be, and it was like, whoa, this is so cool. However cool the technology may have been, it didn't come without its difficulties.
The transformation of our sea monsters, and in particular Luca, was one of the biggest challenges on our film.
They initiated multiple tests and even had a painter create a GIF to try and bring the image of the transformation they had in their head to life. After the ideas and technology were floated around, not just the effects department, but the production team and artists, they finally figured out their masterpiece, with a little help from the animation used for Coco.
the blending aspects of it. We actually used a little bit of technology from Coco.
The new technology was even used in developing the motion of pasta in the film. How Italian! After getting the scales and human skin down packed, it was time for the animators to take a crack at the characters. Because of movement and facial expressions, the two departments needed to work together in order to make sure the expressions of the characters matched the transformation.
Does it come as an explosion of excitement or does it happen slowly? We needed to be able to control that.
They took into consideration how the character would react to a splash of water versus a body of water, and even analyzed marine iguanas for inspiration on their movements. This all especially came into play when they animated what they call the swim sequence.
Swim was the first time where we were really showing off what it means to be a sea monster and a human, and to switch back and forth between the two.
This is where Luca makes the decision to go to the human world. Originally, the scene was supposed to be comedic, but they discovered the potential in it after uncovering the technology they needed for the sea monsters. In this scene, they even used the horizon to show Luca's inner turmoil.
The horizon line is always against Luca when he's struggling, and it's for him when he's actually getting it right.
Despite being a sea monster, Enrico made it clear that Luca should always appear not creepy.
Whoa, I don't want to be bitten by this guy.
In order to do this, they made sure their creations were always lyrical and decorative, and made sure to include Enrico's love for childlike animation. Even the sea monster to human transformation was meant to be gentle.
Isn't it great?
No, it's bad, and I'm not supposed to be up here. Good day.
Luckily for the animators, they had impeccable concept art drawn for them. Enrico translated many of his own experiences into the film, one of those being his love for Japanese animation, specifically by Hayao Miyazaki. He sat down with his crew and watched projects like The Castle of Cagliostro and Future Boy Conan.
We watched it together, we analyzed what can limited animation inspire us to do so.
That inspiration turned into beautiful 2D concept art that later was translated into 3D on screen. However, director of photography David Bianchi said they wanted to make sure that 3D animations still reflected Enrico's initial vision. It still feels like a CG film, but you can sense the hand of the artists touching it.
Everyone in Porto Rosso pretends to believe in sea monsters.
While the location of Porto Rosso is based on 5 fishing towns on the coastal Cinque Terre region of Italy, the name was also a nod to Japanese animation. Disney released a copyright document confirming that the name was a play on Porco Rosso, a film about an Italian pig pilot from the 90s. Aside from Japanese influence, Enrico also used his love for Looney Tunes and took inspiration from how the cartoon demonstrated speed.
We'd have 3, from my hand here to here to here, and we would put all 3 of them to kind of simulate quick speed.
Even Shaun the Sheep had a part in Luca in terms of how the creators wanted to incorporate some stop-motion vibes into the film. As for the creation of the sea monsters, those came from old Renaissance maps from the 1500s and old Italian sculptures they found when they went to Italy during their pre-production research. Overall, Enrico wanted these animations to be unique and imperfect, and even had the computer make mistakes on purpose to achieve his vision. I love the sense that all of our characters in some way feel different or unusual. Luca's director put his soul into the film, literally.
The story is loosely based on his experience growing up in Genoa with his best friend Alberto.
My best friend Alberto was a bit of a troublemaker. Alberto pushed me out of my comfort zone and pushed me off many cliffs, metaphorically and not. The film's theme of friendship and being who we are goes so much deeper than the audience knows.
I think he needs me. You know?
I can't do it without you.
While the technical aspects faced many challenges when it came to animations, the actors also faced difficulties themselves. Luca is a part of the epic collection of films that were made during the COVID-19 pandemic. Shout out to Raya and the Last Dragon! The 3 main characters, Luca, Alberto, and Giulia, may have been the best of friends on screen, but off-screen, their actors rarely saw one another. Because of protocols, some actors, like Jack Dylan Grazer, were forced to record their voiceovers in their mom's closet.
It's fine, I'm not human.
While he may have needed to have worked around some sweaters and shoes, his makeshift studio seemed pretty cozy. But despite his unique studio, the scenario was still difficult for him. It was definitely a stretch for me, a challenge for me as an actor, and as just a human being. Not to mention, he may have annoyed his neighbors just a tad. I bet my neighbors were really freaked out about the amount of screaming that was going on from my house. I don't know what they were thinking. As for Jacob Trombley, who voices Luca, he was a little luckier than Jack. I actually started recording before COVID hit, so I was able to go into the San Francisco studio and they gave me the tour. When the pandemic did arrive, he was prepared to get his closet turned into a studio, but instead was able to safely record in a studio located in his home city of Vancouver.
Woohoo! Underdogs forever!
Emma Berman, who played Julia, didn't get a whole tour like Jacob, but was lucky enough to record her part in the studio as well.
Look, that's Saturn. It's my favorite.
They didn't get the full filming experience, but the cast still fell in love with their characters, and the story of Luca. While Jack and Jacob just couldn't get over how beautiful the animation of the film turned out,
The color of the sea and the sparkliness of the sea.
Emma fell in love and related wholeheartedly to the character of Julia. I had a really fun time playing her because I relate to her in a lot of ways. We were both passionate about what we do, and we're also very excited and joyful people.
Alberto Scorfano.
Luca Paguro.
Piacere. Trolamo trombetta.
You might think Pixar's Luca is just another hit animated film, but a look behind the curtain reveals that it's not just a movie about two teen sea monsters. It's so much more. It's a motion picture that shows us years of historical Italian legends and personal experiences from the director himself that all led to the true meaning behind Luca. Ready to find out what that meaning is?
Benvenuti a Porto Rosso!
Luca is yet another historical moment for Disney and Pixar. It's their first film ever to solely focus on Italian culture and heritage. As you can imagine, that means a lot of what we see transpire to Luca and Alberto, as well as the setting, has a real-life basis. Sure, Porto Rosso isn't a real Italian town, however. It's a near replica of the Italian fishing towns located in the Italian Riviera. As for the sea monsters, they exist too. At least in the legends of the Italian people.
Everyone in Porto Rosso pretends to believe in sea monsters.
When talking about the inspiration behind the sea monsters, director Enrico Casarosa said, "There's a big history of sea dragons. For example, one is in San Frutoso, which has the famous abbey. It's a beautiful place that we definitely took a lot of reference from, a place that is known for a dragon that lives there." Along with the sea dragons, there were stories of friendly octopuses and feisty krakens that even had references in the film.
Kinda sounds interesting.
When it came to designing the sea monsters, they pulled out old Italian sea maps and took reference of their illustrations. However, they did have to tone down those illustrations a little when they saw it become overpowering in the film. Enrico said, "In the beginning, we were drawing them really fantastical. We were fascinated by all these fins and all this weird and kind of decorative elements on them in the sea maps. But it was like, no, they're attracting too much attention to themselves." Things like the fins on the fish and the variety between them all came from those old historical items. According to production designer Daniela Strichlava, they wanted to make sure they kept the inspiration from the maps, but also be sure they were able to modify them in order to fit each sea monster's personality or home. The filmmakers even made sure that their underwater scenes were in line with the aquatic life in the Mediterranean waters, and more specifically, Ligurian Sea.
Isn't it great?
Plenty of research and personal experience went into the making of the film and Luca as a character. In fact, Luca and Alberto are loosely based on a friendship Enrico had while growing up in Italy. He credits his past BFF for helping him come out of his shell and get him where he is today. His family wasn't very present. He couldn't do whatever he wanted. It was the perfect friendship to get me out of my comfort zone and help me grow up.
What does that mean?
No idea. Go find out for me, will ya?
The location was also chosen based on Enrico's childhood. The director would visit the Italian Riviera during the summer months, and his fond memories of the towns were the reason for the setting of Luca. But, of course, Enrico couldn't rely on solely his own memories to create a movie on Italian culture.
Who wants to watch me eat a big sandwich?
Although he was raised there, he spent the majority of his adult life in America. That being said, he put together a team of art designers and sent them on a mission to Italy where they were tasked with getting to know the culture, food, and art in the country. Erickson thinks it's so important to get the feeling of the place, the light and the details. It has so much history. The goal visually of creating Luca was to be able to transport people to this beautiful place that you would love to visit for real, but that you can visit through Luca.
That's how we're gonna see the world!
Overall, the goal of Luca was to portray the epic bonds of friendship. Enrico wanted to make sure that the movie's main symbolism of the importance of friendship was at the forefront and not sacrificed for added drama.
They even cut certain scenes to make sure they kept it in line with the vision. We had much more of a quest, and we had a huge Kraken transformation at the end, a big monster finish. We realized that wasn't the story we wanted to tell. All in all, he was going for a Stand By Me in Italy vibe. Luca represented the confusing and challenging times we all experience when we're 13. The frustration of not identifying with your true self or unsure how to express who you want to be to others. Luca disguising himself was actually a metaphor for that situation, and another extension of Enrico's personal experience.
Your life is so much cooler than mine.
Those years where you feel odd in your own body and you don't fit in for many different reasons. So something felt right talking about that age with the setting of a changeling. Someone actually hiding his true self naturally because he has to. The contrast between the murky ocean waters and wide and never-ending human lands also helped showcase the cramped feeling Luca was experiencing as a sea monster.
You just sit on it, and it takes you anywhere you want to go.
Then they were able to tie in the iconic Italian Vespa to represent the freedom Luca had as a human.
Vespa is freedom.
The art team's research and Enrico's personal experience definitely paid off. They created a film that not only gave representation to the beautiful Italian culture, but a film about friendship and growing pains that people around the world can relate to. What did you love about Luca? Thanks for watching!